Who Dat Nation, wake up! We have a major situation developing in our defensive trenches that could define our entire season. Our pass rush is at a crossroads, and one of our most experienced edge rushers is facing a massive turning point as new faces arrive to fight for his spot. Is he ready to reclaim his dominance, or are we witnessing the beginning of the end for a veteran staple? You do not want to miss this breakdown of why his performance is the absolute key to our defense. Smash that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Let's dive into it. Carl Granderson enters his 8th season with the Saints at a definitive career crossroads as he approaches his 30th birthday this December. Having been a fixture of the New Orleans defense for years, the narrative surrounding the edge rusher has shifted significantly since his productive 2023 campaign. Back then, he started all 17 games and tallied a career-high 812 sacks, which earned him a 4-year, $52 million contract extension. However, his performance trended downward in 2024, seeing a decrease in both tackles and sacks, leading to a year where he seemed to fade into the background. As the Saints look to 2026, Granderson remains the only team he has ever known, yet his future status is complicated by a contract restructure that places a dead cap hit of nearly $21 million on the books for 2027. Fans screaming "Who Dat" at the Superdome are eager to see if he can regain the dominance he showed just a few seasons ago. With Chase Young ascending as a premier edge presence and the veteran Cam Jordan in a state of limbo, Granderson is no longer the undisputed focal point of the pass rush. The team's acquisition of Tyree Wilson from the Raiders for a 5th-round pick introduces direct competition, as the former first-rounder is expected to push Granderson for valuable snaps. Additionally, the arrival of Anfernee Jennings from the Patriots via free agency provides further depth, signaling that the organization is actively creating alternatives at the position. For Granderson, the task is clear. He must prove that he is still the player who earned that significant extension, or face the reality that his role within this defensive front is rapidly diminishing as the team explores younger options. Why does this matter right now for the Saints? The team finished 2026 at the top of the bottom 10 in total sacks, continuing a multi-year decline in production that began after the 2023 season. With pressure on the quarterback being the lifeblood of the defensive scheme, the lack of consistent output from the edge is a primary concern for the coaching staff. While Chase Young has established himself as a force, the defense requires stability on the opposite side to prevent opposing offenses from doubling him every snap. Granderson is tasked with providing that stability, but his recent performance has been characterized by inconsistency. There were 6 games last season where he recorded 1 or 0 tackles and 0 sacks, a disappearing act that the front office clearly wants to avoid. Even if Cam Jordan returns, it is statistically unlikely that a 37-year-old veteran can replicate the high sack production seen in his previous surge. Therefore, the necessity for Granderson to elevate his game is not just a personal matter, but a structural requirement for the defense to keep the offense on the field. The arrival of Tyree Wilson adds an element of urgency, as a former first-round pick is rarely acquired to sit on the bench. If Wilson or Jennings begins to consistently outperform him, it will become clear that the team is shifting its philosophy toward a different era of edge pressure. Granderson must capitalize on his remaining opportunities to prove that his motor and long-reach technique can still translate into meaningful impact, or he risks losing his grip on the starting role in a year where the Saints desperately need him to be a disruptive factor. Analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of Granderson reveals the dichotomy of his play over his long tenure in New Orleans. His greatest asset has consistently been his durability, having missed only 5 games since his rookie season in 2019 and none since Week 14 of 2022. This reliability is a trait that the Saints have leaned on, as he is frequently available to be deployed in various defensive looks. His high motor is evident on film, as he possesses the ability to utilize his long arms to catch defenders off guard, and has shown a knack for eluding even the most disciplined offensive linemen. However, these flashes of athleticism are often negated by his tendency to vanish for long stretches of games. After a strong start last season where he recorded 4 performances of 5 tackles or more in his first 5 appearances, his production cratered. This volatility is a significant factor in why the team sought to upgrade the position through free agency and trades. Furthermore, Granderson has struggled at times against the run, an area where the organization has clearly prioritized improvement heading into the 2026 season. While he has managed 34 1-2 career sacks, with 20 of those coming in the last 3 seasons, the decline in his QB hits last year to just 9 is a statistic that cannot be ignored. His 196 tackles over the past 3 years show that he is involved in the thick of the defense, but for a player at his price point, the team requires more consistent pressure. The challenge for Granderson is to stop the downward trend and prove that his skill set is still effective against both the run and the pass. The transition from a promising standout to an uncertain veteran is reflected in the numbers Granderson has accumulated throughout his career. Born in Sacramento, California, he was a 3-star recruit who chose Wyoming over offers from Washington State and Boise State. His collegiate career was highly successful, featuring 17 1-2 sacks and 35 1-2 tackles for loss across 42 games, which led to first-team Mountain West honors in 2017. Since entering the NFL, he has logged 299 total tackles and 42 quarterback hits since 2023 alone. Despite these solid career figures, the reality of the 2026 roster shows that past accomplishments are not shielding him from competition. His recent stats highlight a player who is still capable, yet one who is struggling to maintain the high-level impact required to justify his current contract position. With 34 of his 53 total tackles for loss coming over the past 3 seasons, he has clearly been a primary contributor, but the sudden decrease in pressure consistency during 2024 and 2025 has forced the team's hand in terms of roster depth. 8 of his 10 career batted balls have occurred in the last 2 years, demonstrating that he remains active at the line of scrimmage even when he fails to reach the quarterback. However, as he moves toward his 8th year, the physical toll and the influx of younger talent like Tyree Wilson create a scenario where his margin for error is non-existent. The Saints are banking on a resurgence, yet they are simultaneously insulating themselves with new acquisitions. Granderson's ability to adapt to these changing circumstances will be the defining factor in how his career in New Orleans is remembered, as the team looks to move out of the bottom 10 in sack production. Entering the heart of the 2026 schedule, the expectations for Granderson are pinned to his ability to regain his 2023 form while navigating the pressures of his age 30 season. The financial landscape, specifically the $21 million dead cap hit for 2027, means that this year is critical not only for the team's defensive success, but also for his future prospects in the league. The arrival of Tyree Wilson and Anthony Jennings is a direct signal from the organization that the status quo is no longer acceptable. The Saints find themselves at a point where they need to bridge the gap between an aging core and a necessary infusion of youthful energy. For Granderson, the path forward involves eliminating the disappearances that plagued his game last season and sharpening his technique against the run to ensure he remains a 3-down player. He is no longer the project who needed to figure out life as an edge rusher. He is a veteran who is now being measured against both his own past success and the high ceilings of his teammates. The dual-edged presence of Young and Granderson was meant to be the cornerstone of the defensive front, but that vision has been interrupted by inconsistent production. If Granderson can successfully fend off competition from the new arrivals and provide the necessary pressure to complement Young, the team's defense may finally break out of its current cycle of stagnation. Conversely, any further regression will likely solidify the role of his replacements, effectively ending his long tenure as a primary starter for the franchise. The pressure is on, and the upcoming games will ultimately reveal if Granderson can still be the dominant force the Saints once envisioned when they signed his massive extension.